in like pink lettering or something. So it's like, don't be the worst, wink. Like, I love you, but you're awful. Why are you talking to me like this? Today, I want to talk about how I escape fake relationships, or even better, how I avoid building them in my life in the first place. And I will tell you right now, the secret comes from being true to yourself and having no fear of judgment. Cheesy as that may sound, it's pretty much true, and we're going to talk about why. So I want to start off by saying that this is a skill that for the most part I come by very honestly. I have no tolerance for insincerity. Like, if someone has a problem with me, I really want them to tell me. If someone wants something from me, I also want them to tell me. And I think that's specifically what it is. If I feel like someone wants something from me and they won't ask, they won't tell me what it is, they'll sort of like drop hints and hope that I'll just do what they want, I get like really mad and I'm like, I am not gonna do what you want because you didn't ask me. Anyways, that's sort of a side note, but it definitely relates because I think a lot of times dishonest or sort of fake, confusing relationships rest on patterns like that, where one or both people will not really be upfront about how they feel or what they want, and the other person will allow it. And so it kind of builds from there. Beyond and besides my natural irritation with like insincerity, having honest relationships is something I just care very much about, because I think we all know that the people who really care about us will care enough to have an uncomfortable conversation with us if there's something we need to hear, right? If someone's upset with us and they're like your best friend or someone in your family, they've become someone you know and really trust and love because they'll tell you, they'll come to you, and you will work your way through it, even if it's really uncomfortable. And that's another part of this too that I feel so strongly about. In so many ways, we adopt these habits, and maybe like socially we're kind of conditioned into avoiding confrontation, like avoiding discomfort. We feel like it's rude or it's wrong to make another person uncomfortable. So even if their behavior isn't really something we're okay with, even if we really need something from them, but we know that asking them could go badly, like we feel so strongly that it's better to just keep that to ourselves, or to maybe drop hints or like find another way around rather than making them uncomfortable. I would rather have a tough conversation off the bat than let something simmer. Like, don't let something simmer is the thing. Honestly, it's about service to the other person. I'm not saying that I like get excited to have tough conversations. Like, I will get nervous. If I know I need to bring someone something uncomfortable, I don't look forward to it. I rehearse it in my head. I get kind of nervous about it, and then we have the conversation. But to me, it's always felt like it would be wrong of me not to do that. For the sake of the other person, I need to go through this discomfort of letting them be uncomfortable in order to help them. Like, if it's a relationship worth fighting for, the difficult conversations are part of fighting for it. A critical part, like one of the most critical, that so many times we don't do. And then relationships will like erode or decay, or we'll just let it kind of disappear. Like this trend of ghosting people. Oh, no, don't ghost people. I don't know. There are circumstances where it might be merited, but as a general rule of thumb, like something gets uncomfortable and you're like, I'm just going to drop this now. I'm going to leave this person here. No, just be upfront. No, it's okay. Like, you can hurt their feelings for 2 minutes or for a day rather than let it like linger. No lingering. Letting discomfort linger for someone else isn't actually charitable. I think it makes it easier for us, but not for the other person. And that's been a huge part of my mindset in this too. It's about being charitable to the other person. And another reason this can be tough is if we have a real problem or we have something we need and we need to bring it to another person, then we don't know how they're going to respond. There's a chance that they'll say no. There's a chance that they will reject us or get really angry. And we need to allow them the freedom to respond however they will. And if we never bring it up, then we never have to face their response, and we never need to deal with that potential rejection, right? If there's something really important you have to bring to somebody and they might like be done talking to you after this, we would rather often keep it to ourselves and maybe just let the relationship go away on our own terms than give them the option of reacting honestly to us and who we are and what we want. So we kind of hide ourselves sometimes. We kind of hide what we want and what we need, and we don't speak clearly about it, because it's very, very scary, which is true, but it's doing a disservice to ourselves and to this other person that probably we care about when we act this way. So It has to do with keeping the relationships that are valuable to us, like honest and healthy, like regularly just being able to communicate about what we feel and what we need and who we are as people, like being able to share who we are as people. It also helps deter dishonest or fake relationships, like people who don't actually care about you as a person but maybe do actually want something from you. If you're really honest about who you are and what you want, that won't build up as much. Like you won't have people coming to you often. If you get used to having those tough conversations, they don't want to have those kind of conversations. They don't want a relationship that's going to take work, right? Manipulative relationships aren't about really loving and supporting the other person. So if you have a tendency to attract people who leech off of you a little bit, like they sap your energy, they leave you feeling really confused and really anxious, or maybe you have a tendency to feel guilty after you spend time with somebody, there's probably some real manipulation going there. And the more we learn to stand up for ourselves and say, this is who I am, take it or leave it, the less they can do that. The less other people can even afford to try and leech off of us because we won't take it. And usually actually people can sense that and then they won't even approach you in the first place. And I do have a whole other video on manipulative relationships, because that can get really sticky if there's an important person in your life where you're seeing there are some red flags and they often make you feel confused or you're not sure where you stand with them. That could be manipulative, but that's harder. That's much harder to deal with. So I would do a little bit more digging on that. But we can keep them from building into something like that if we're really clear. And I have a little catchphrase that I like, and it's be who you are, be strong about it, and be kind. So it doesn't mean that we go to people with all of our complaints and issues all the time and like really rag on them because we're trying to be honest and sincere. Like there's a balance here. Let me get into that. So be who you are. I've kind of touched on. We want to know like who we are and what we want. If we're having a conflict in a relationship, very often, at least for myself, part of it is that I don't know what I want. Like if I'm confused and anxious around somebody, I often don't know. Like I usually don't know why. So I need to spend some time. I need to unpack that a little bit so that I don't go off on them in an unconstructed, like vague, angry way. Like that's not the goal. So we want to know who we are, and that in relationships that has to do with knowing what we want. We want to be really strong about it. Like don't be ashamed of who you truly are and what you truly want. I don't think we genuinely truly want like evil things for other people. Most of us want good things. We want our relationships to be healthy. We want other people to be happy. We want to be happy ourselves. Like this is all good. So look at what that is. Don't be afraid of it. You might want something very different from another important person in your life, and there's a risk there. And we need to be able to face that risk. It's tough and it's really liberating and it's really, really good. So we want to know who we are and what we want, and we want to be kind about it. There are these signs, these kind of trendy signs right now that you'll see in like pink lettering or like bright colors, and they'll be posted around like maybe a bar or something, and it usually says like, don't be a jerk, like wink, like it's really pink and cute, except that oftentimes the language is a lot stronger than don't be a jerk. And these signs make me so mad. Like they get on my nerves so bad. And so I apologize to anyone who just like thinks they're funny, because I know they're kind of intended to be funny. But to me, they're doing the opposite of like what a healthy relationship does. First off, they're presuming a negative. They are presuming the worst about whoever is reading this sign. Like don't be an ass. Oh, thank you. Like I was planning to, like I was going to come in here and be all rude and awful, but now that you said that, like I won't. Okay, you caught me. So it's presuming a negative. It's presuming the worst about other people. And it's being insincere because it's in like pink lettering or something. So it's like, don't be the worst, wink. Like, I love you, but you're awful. Why are you talking to me like this? And it's a sign. It's not even a person. But I feel so offended every time I see one of those signs. Again, I know they're meant to be sarcastic. They're meant to be funny. It's the insincerity thing. It just rubs me the wrong way. I hate those signs. So with that said, it's kind of a nice way to think of it. You can do the opposite of those signs. Do be sincere. Like don't kind of act happy with someone you're not happy with. Like be clear if you're unhappy with someone, and presume the best. Like we want to assume the best of other people. We don't want to assume that other people are out to ruin our lives. Like in this circumstance, let's say you have a really difficult person in your life, like a coworker, someone who's around. They're not in your personal life, but they're in your life daily and you need to deal with them, and they're tough. Like maybe they speak in a way that's really not clear. Like they have none of these good communication habits. And so there's a lot of like passive aggression or something coming your way. And you're like, I wish I could kick this person out of my life, but I can't. How do I navigate that? So presume the best. They're probably oblivious to the fact that they're being unkind. They probably don't mean to. They probably learned terrible habits from like when they were a kid. So try to presume the best, but also be really clear for yourself. What do you need from them? How can you get it very clearly? Maybe just have really strong boundaries. You don't need to be this person's friend. You don't need to spend time with them outside of work, right? How can you be clear with them so that you're not playing a game back at them? Like, we don't need to play games. No one needs to play games. It's a really unhealthy tendency in our society today, and maybe for like society forever, but really today, I think a lot of people play games because they're just afraid to be who they are. They're afraid to ask for what they want. Not cool. And at the same time, they tend to presume the worst. How many times do we deal with an annoying person in our lives by assuming that they actually want something bad for us? We're like, oh my gosh, they're always coming over to talk to me on my break. Like, don't they know I need a break? Like, why are they doing this to me? Why is this person always here to like ruin my life? They're not. Like, no one's out to ruin you. Like, there's so few genuine, like, mustache twirling villains in the world. People aren't out to ruin each other. They're just kind of just some people are really tough to be around for other people, and that's how it goes. That if we can be really honest about what we want and what we need from other people, and we can give them the benefit of the doubt as much as possible, you make sure you can actually get this person out of your life if there's something dangerous going on or really, really inappropriate. Obviously. That's pretty much how I've approached this, is this idea of be who you are, be really strong about it, and be kind. We want to be kind to other people. And I give this advice knowing that I have not always followed it, which is funny because I have such a low tolerance for insincerity. But it is tough. Like, it's a skill. You have to practice it. So don't expect, if you have a lot of difficult relationships in your life, they're not going to clear up overnight. But we can start practicing these habits and, like, in little ways, start being a little bit clearer about who we are, what space we fill, how far people are allowed to come in or not. Practice like giving people the benefit of the doubt, being as charitable as we can, but holding the line. Hold the line. Hold the line. We don't have to pretend to be someone else, pretend to want things that we don't want. We don't have to act like someone's friend if we don't want to be friends. It's a little scary, but it's okay. It's for the best. And I actually want to end with a Shakespeare quote. Thank you, theater, because it's really on the nose. It's very beautiful. From Hamlet. Most of us know the quote, "To thine own self be true," but the rest of it is exactly what I've been talking about. He says, "To thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night to the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man." If we're true to ourselves, we know who we are, we won't be insincere with other people. Thou canst not then be false to any man. If we know who we are first, and we're strong about it, we won't be false to anyone else. They'll know who we are. They'll know what we want and what we stand for, and it'll be clear. And it'll make life a lot easier. The truth will set you free. That's my other mantra. I love it. The truth is always the best. Take courage. Don't be afraid. Stand up for who you are and what you really believe in and what your principles are. It's okay sometimes to hurt feelings if it's like important and we really need to clear the air with somebody. That's a generous thing to do. So don't be afraid to do that. Well, maybe be afraid, but try and do it anyways. That's what I have for you all today. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you next time.